This podcast contains strong language and discussions about relationships, sex, and love. It may not be suitable for younger listeners. This is the Can't Keep My Mouth Shut podcast, and I am Nixalina. Happy Monday. Hello, it's me, Nixalina. Welcome back to Can't Keep My Mouth Shut. And I have a treat for you, because we have another episode of a topic I've never discussed before. I'm so proud of myself. My brain is firing all different places. My creative juices are flowing. Sorry about that analogy, especially given what I'm going to talk about. But yeah, I'm all over the place in a positive way. Like, yes, what this? So we're diving in. We're going down to the pubic area. And today, this episode is called Pubes, a Memoir. Landing strip, Brazilian, or au naturale. Interesting. So, I'm going to, it's going to be another overshare in it, but I feel like my life is an overshare, so fuck it. I've been wondering these days about how people address their pubes in terms of like Gen Zs. Is there a vibe there versus millennials? And do people leave it natural these days? And, you know, what's our pubic vibe? So I thought I'd start off by detailing actually the benefits of having pubes, right? So, oh God. But also, not a doctor. You could go and research all of this for yourself. As always, this is just my opinions and information I have found on the internet. But the pubes themselves exist because they actually do have benefits. Yes, there is benefits to the bush. So what they do is they serve as a protective barrier to your genitalia tissues, particularly for women, for the vagina. They also serve as a buffer against any friction on the skin. Oh, God. There's also, I don't know how I feel about this, but there's also been small-scale studies about the correlation between pubic hair existence and STIs, right? Which I actually don't think, I can't see the relationship there, unless it's more like a behavioral thing. If you're more likely to get rid of all your pubes, it's because you're more likely to be sexually active or promiscuous, which means you're more likely to sleep with people that are more likely to have STI. Do you know what I mean? It's very, it's a stretch at best. But health-wise, yes, pubes do wonders. That being said, I've always removed them. Always and forever. And that's my personal preference. Now, I live in a tropical climate. I'm always in a bikini by the pool, there's that element of it. Do I used to have winter downtimes in the UK where I'm like, fuck it, especially if I'm single? Sure. And if I'm single, do I sometimes go, I can't be bothered, I'm leaving it, whatever. Let the skin recover, which is something else we'll get down to later on in this episode. But yeah, I do. But generally, I like all of it gone. And it's my own personal preference in terms of just cleanliness, really, and how I feel. When it comes to a man and how they perceive my pubes, usually, most men, a decent, healthy man would go, I couldn't give a fuck, Nix. I generally don't care. As long as they don't end up in my teeth, I don't care. And I'll be like, fair. Because my opinion is the same for the male pubic area. As long as I'm not sucking on loads of strands while I'm trying to, give you your best blowjob of your life, then I don't really care. Do I like them trimmed? Yeah. Do I even notice if they're not? No, I rarely do. I don't think I've ever inspected my boyfriend's pubes, ever. Well, my recent boy loves to send a cock pic, or 20. He loves to send a cock pic. And fair play to him, because he's got magic going on, so I'm all here for it. But only when I get the picture, I was in my brain's like, oh, I don't really remember. Look at his pubes. Well, okay. But no fucks given. Really, none. If they become an inconvenience, and the only inconvenience is this when they're in your mouth and then you have to pull them out. We've all been there. I've been there. You've been there. Whatever. Then that's a bit like ugh, and then it gets a bit awkward. And but other than that, no. Or like no. The more annoying thing is when they're all over my toilet seat. Dudes, no. Clean up, or in the shower bottom, or in the bath. Like, no, please. Like, I don't want a sea of your pubes all around my toilet or my anywhere in my bathroom. Like, whatever. But other than that, no, I couldn't give a shit. And I believe, if I'm not wrong, men feel the same. Now, with the issue of, I mean, obviously, like, bikinis, holidays, sexy lingerie, models, we generally, and porn stars, you kind of have to go bare, right? Well, porn stars don't either. But if you do go bare, you're dealing with how to get rid of it. And that's a whole other issue as well with the old pubes, because the hair removal irritates the fucking skin. And honestly, there has been a rise in people visiting A&E, emergency rooms, because of like septic infections and infected hair follicles from trying to remove pubes. And I mean, like, these injuries can get very infected and like could lead to fucking sepsis if you have an infected hair follicle or the laceration or something. Or I mean, you can even get burns if the wax is too hot. I have actually been left with really horrible burns from one very, very bad trainee wax girl. This was in my early 20s in London. And oh my God, it was fucking painful. It was painful to like shower after everything. And it was awful. It was horrendous. So, I mean, like, removing pubic hair is a thing in terms of like, it has negatives. And if you do remove your pubic hair, it will grow back. So they are going to deal with shaving rash. You're going to deal with ingrowing hairs. You're going to deal with regrowth. You're going to have to exfoliate. You have to moisturize because the skin is dry because you've waxed the fucking living shit out of it. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like men, I'm assuming women as well, but I'm going from my personal experience, men do need to like take a fucking break on that point. Some of them seem to really freak out that like that's an ingrowing hair or a spot or a rash, and like they seem to think that you have an STD. It's like, no, dude, I waxed. Would you rather a bush or would you rather I wax? Because here's what we, you know. And it's maintenance. It is maintenance to avoid getting those ingrown hairs, to avoid getting the shaving rash. It's a lot. And lest I please not touch upon the fact that waxing is fucking painful. Really, really painful. I actually switched to Sugared. And I've only found this place in Singapore. Shout out to Sugared. I switched to them a few years ago, so they're not hot wax. It's organic. They use the sugaring. I think, if I'm not wrong, the sugaring technique was invented by, like, the ancient Egyptians. Like, it's how long this concept has been around. It's like honey, lemon, sugar, water. I think that's it. I don't even know if honey's in that. And basically it becomes a paste. A little ball paste of this organic, so you can eat it if you want. I have, in fact. Yes, I have. I've eaten the same shit they use to wipe my pubes away. Yeah. I obviously ate it before, like, you know, just to try it. So anyway, for me, sugaring is the least painful option with the quickest, most effective results. But it's still painful, yes, especially like if I'm, you know, hungover or it's the time of the month and it fucking hurts. But moving on from that, I have just a few random statistics I found online by yougov.com, right? They're a long while ago now, but this is a general vibe of like the grooming habits. And this was the percentage of men and women under 30 who do the following to their hair, their pubic hair. So we'll start with men. So men, and I don't ask why it's under 30. I'm sure it'll be the same now, like 20s, 30s, whatever. So with men, the results were 11% remove all hair, 45% trim hair, and 34% do nothing. You lazy fucks. Women, on the other hand, 47% of women remove all their hair, 38% of women trim their hair, and only 7% of women do nothing. That speaks volumes, doesn't it? 11% of men remove it all, 47% of women remove it all. Look at the comparison, it's mad. And that's because I believe there feels to be a skew on the existence of pubes on women versus men. The fact that 34% of the men would do fuck all on it and only 7% of women would do fuck all because we feel like we have to live up to these standards. And not surprised. I saw those stats. I was not surprised. I reckon they're probably even more skewed these days. And it's not just under 30. It's people over 30 as well, for sure. 30s and 40s, they're still going to be fucking with their pubic line. I've got some more stats as well on the preferred bikini styles on women, right? And this is divided into under 30s and over 30s percentage. So, no trimming at all. Nothing, just let bare. 4% of under 30s leave it bare. Whereas 14% of over 30s leave it bare. So obviously the older women are getting, the more they can't be fucking bothered. I'm very different to that. So we move down to the standard bikini line. So that's your, does your bikini line, as long as it's not hanging out your knickers or your bikini, obviously, then the hair's still there. For under 30s, 15% have it like that. For over 30s, 31%. Okay? So 31% enjoy a standard bikini line of over 30s, which is very interesting. It's the highest number for the over 30s group in this graph that I'm looking at. And the next one, we move down again to full bikini line. So that's just the same triangle shape, but it goes in a bit more. And it's going underneath as well. 10% of under 30s have a full bikini line, whereas 12% of over 30s have a full bikini line. So that's pretty close. We then move down to a small triangle, right? Smaller triangle. 4% of under 30s have the small triangle. 5% of over 30s have that small triangle, seems to be the least favorited option, followed by the Brazilian, the landing strip. 5% of under 30s have that, whereas 4% of over 30s have a Brazilian. So the Brazilian really came into its abundance many moons ago, and it's obviously gone way out of favour now. But there was a movement where the Brazilian held court in the favourite pubic trimming vibe. And the same, the small triangle, they're now the least favourite is. But my final stats, which is interesting, is the Hollywood, all gone, which is my vibe, 35% of under 30s. 35% of under 30s, get rid of it all. And only 14% of over 30s, get rid of it all. So I am obviously in that 14%. So to sum up, the Brazilian and the small triangle are way out, no one cares. For the over 30s, it's a standard bikini line, right? It's a standard bikini line, or it's no trimming at all, tying with all of it gone on a Hollywood. For under 30s, it's massively the Hollywood, outstretch any of it, followed by standard bikini line. Interesting. I really enjoy these kinds of stats because I do feel like it's, and it moves in like trends. It really does. And also, it depends on your personal fetish as well, especially when it comes to sex. Some men love a full bush. Some men find it all removed, like a bit too small childy, weird, like ill. Feels wrong. Feels so wrong. That vagina needs some grown-up adult hair on it. So they actually get turned off by Hollywood, and I get that as well. I do get that. So yeah, I just find it very interesting. This is what I mean. This episode is more just a discussion about pubes, hence pubes and memoir. I'm just curious as to what people prefer. Do people themselves prefer to keep clean? Do they feel unclean if they don't remove it? Which is like me. I personally do it for myself because I'm like, ew, I don't like it. I feel much cleaner without. And even now these days, I do it monthly, like with or without a boyfriend. I'm still on the case, but then I do live in the tropics, like I said before. So I'm kind of pushed more that way anyway. But yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Give me your pubic thoughts. Actually, you probably don't want it. You're like, Nix, we ain't going to overshare this one with you. You run that on your own. Okay, sure. But if you do want to chat about pubes, I'm here for it. I know. I'll chat about anything. As always, you can find me on Instagram and slide into my DMs. It is at Nixalina, Nixalina. And with that, I hope you all have a hair-free week or a full bushy week. And I will see you all next Monday. Thanks for listening to the Can't Keep My Mouth Shut podcast. Produced and hosted by me, Nixalina, and recorded in the Splice Cast Studios in Singapore. I'm available to listen to on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, and all major podcast listening apps. Do subscribe to enjoy a new episode every Monday evening. Please do give me a 5-star review. It helps other people also find my podcast. For more content and features to read, you can check out my website, Nixalina.com. That's Nixalina.com. I'm also on social media. Simply search at Nixalina, Nixalina, to find me. Don't be shy. Come say hi.